Welcome to Outdrive, folks. I'm your host, Cliff Callis, and each week I'm bringing you actionable marketing insights you can apply to reach, connect with, and convert rural American consumers. Outdrive is powered by Callis, a full-service advertising agency with a focus on marketing rural America. Callis offers a wide range of integrated marketing services, including website development, search engine marketing, social media, video, and digital. We develop strategic and creative campaigns to build your brand and your business, and you can learn more about us at ecallis.com. Now join me in the front seat as we head out on the road to success. Let's go. Hey folks, welcome to Outdrive. We've got another great story to share with you today about life and work in rural America. Today, we're excited to premiere a two-part series about economic development in Missouri, beginning with our guest, Janelle Higgins, Vice President of Marketing and Communications for Missouri Partnership, a public-private economic development organization that helps businesses expand into a new location. If you've listened to some of our podcasts before, you know I'm a big supporter of economic development, whether that be business attraction or retention, manufacturing, distribution, agriculture, tourism, job growth, or any of the other components that contribute to economic development in rural America. In her role, Janelle has the opportunity to lead their team's video and visual strategy, develop and implement public relations efforts, and utilize traditional and digital media to market and promote Missouri throughout the world. If you know much about Missouri, you know that we have an abundance of assets and amenities to talk about, and I'm sure we'll get into some of those today. We'll also discuss the types of businesses the partnership is trying to attract, how they're reaching them, the new marketing campaign they've just launched, and more. Janelle came to the Missouri Partnership nearly 10 years ago after a successful career in news broadcasting and video production, so I'm excited to talk about that as well. So with that, welcome to Outdrive, Janelle.
Hi, Cliff. Thanks for having me.
Very excited to have you on the show. I love economic development in the state of Missouri. So I know there's a lot that we could talk about just on that topic, but I want to hear about your role in economic development and the role of the Missouri Partnership. And then I want to talk specifically about the new marketing campaign that you guys are rolling out and what you're trying to do with it and how you approached it and where you see it going. But before we get into all that, tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to cover all of those topics. But before we do that, a little bit about myself. I'm from Springfield, Illinois, originally, which is in central Illinois, state capital there. I am one of four girls. I am the youngest in my family. I was a tomboy growing up. I played a lot of sports, played outside, kind of just had a quote unquote normal childhood. Sports really were a big part of my life up until college. And so I really think that is where I got my competitive spirit from, which comes in handy because, as you know, economic development is really a competitive field. After high school, I went to college at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, which is just outside of St. Louis on the Illinois side, though. And I met my husband there, and now we live in the St. Louis area. And I have three daughters. They're 9, 7, and 5.
What a great life.
It has been. I'm really lucky, and I realize that, and I'm thankful every day.
So as a tomboy growing up in Illinois, what did you think you wanted to be when you grew up?
So I was all over the place. I had a lot of different interests. I wanted to be a veterinarian for a while. I wanted to be in the WNBA. So that came to life when I was a child. And so I thought that I would be a star guard in the WNBA, but then I realized I was only 5'5", and that probably wasn't going to pan out for me. I explored being a social worker when I was getting ready to go to college. And then when it came time to really decide on my major, I realized I really enjoyed watching the news and knowing what was happening in the communities that I lived in. And I really liked writing. So I leaned into that and I decided on mass comm for my major in college with a specialization in television and radio.
Well, that's a great background for what you're doing today. And isn't it kind of cool how you did go through the process of investigating a real diverse array of professions? I think that's pretty cool.
It was, yeah. I think my parents sometimes were a little too supportive of maybe things that were not going to pan out for me, but I always had their support, which was very helpful. I had big dreams, and I'm happy that I landed on journalism because it was a lot of fun doing that throughout my 20s.
Yeah, it's a great career. So from Illinois to Wisconsin to Missouri, tell us about that journey.
Yeah, so after college, I moved back home with my parents, as some of us have to do after graduating from college. And I was an aspiring journalist who sent my demo reel out on a VHS tape. Some of your younger listeners may not even know what a VHS tape is, but I had a demo reel on a VHS tape and I sent it out to news stations across the country. And after a few months, I got my first interview, and it was in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, which I was not familiar with. It's in the northern part of Wisconsin, though, and I got the job. So a few weeks later, I packed everything up and I moved into an apartment by myself and didn't know anybody in Rhinelander. And I worked at the NBC affiliate there as a reporter and an anchor, a producer, a fill-in weather anchor. I one-man banded there. So now I think they call it a backpack journalist. But essentially what it is you film all your own video, you edit it all, you write your story, you present it live on the news, you post it on the website. You basically do every job that you can think of in a newsroom, which was an awesome experience. You kind of know when you get into that field that you have to work from the bottom up, and everyone there was fresh out of college, and I made dear friends that I still have. Some of us are still in news, some of us are not. And we just had a lot of camaraderie in that newsroom and worked hard every single day. And it was a great experience for me. So, when my contract was up there, though, I did end up moving to Missouri for my first time. And I moved to Springfield, Missouri in the southwestern part of the state because my husband was in graduate school there at Missouri State University. And so I moved down to Springfield, Missouri, and I got a job at the CBS affiliate there, which is Color 10. And I worked more behind the scenes there as a producer. And so we lived there for about 3 years, I want to say. And then once my husband graduated from his program, we decided to make the move to the St. Louis area because that's where he is originally from. And we knew we wanted to be closer to family. So that was kind of my journey from moving back home after college to working in a few different newsrooms and then making it back to the St. Louis area, which is where I am now.
And of course, Missouri and Illinois are very similar in a lot of ways. Of course, Missouri is a better state, but
I agree.
I'm not biased at all. So we have tons of amenities and assets that you use, I know, to promote the state to, would-be businesses. But from your perspective, what do you think are the highlights of what Missouri has to offer?
Yeah, so I will say when I moved to Springfield, that was in 2009, we lived off of one income, just my income that I made at Color 10 because my husband was in grad school. And we lived a very nice lifestyle. Missouri really is affordable. And I know that from experience. Obviously, I live here. And living in Springfield, Missouri, it was beautiful down there. Just the landscape there is gorgeous. And there's tons of trails, a lot to do. There's great food. And now living in the St. Louis area, we live in St. Charles County in a suburb called Cottleville, which may not be very well known outside of this area. I had never heard of it until we bought our home here back in 2012, which we're still in that home because we just love this suburb so much. But there's just tons of local restaurants, local shops, great schools. We're in a suburb, but we're still close to a lot of attractions. So we have the award-winning St. Louis Zoo 30 minutes away, the Magic House, the Science Center. We can go to Blues games. We're a big soccer family, so we go to St. Louis City games quite often and local concerts. There's just plenty of things happening that are really accessible, which I can't say that for every place that I've lived. And I am an Illinois native. And so my parents still lived in Springfield, Illinois until a few years ago. And they saw how great Missouri was. And so they decided to make the move to Missouri a few years ago. And so now they live just about 5 minutes away from us. And they're very, very happy living here. And they're retired and have found plenty of things to do and made a lot of great friends. So that's been fun to see.
Yeah, how great is that? That's perfect. So you didn't mention the Cardinals, and of course they've not been at the top of most people's conversation lists due to the off year, but you and I talked briefly about this before we got started. How are they going to bounce back in 2024?
Well, Cliff, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, since I am here on behalf of Missouri Partnership, but I am not a Cardinals fan. So I am from Illinois, and
Oh,
I'm sorry to say it.
it's okay.
Yeah, I grew up a Cubs fan, so I feel like my family might disown me if I turn into a Cardinals fan. But I do cheer for the Blues, and I do cheer for St. Louis City and the Chiefs, of course, too. So all of those Missouri teams have me behind them. But my husband is a diehard Cardinals fan, and this season has been tough on him.
Yeah, it's been challenging. When I thought about after I said that, and I thought about that, I knew what was coming. I knew I was going to hear the word Cubs, and the Cubs have a great tradition, and what a rivalry between the Cardinals and Cubs that go back for years and years. It's interesting you mentioned the Chiefs because I saw a statistic just the other day that talked about how popular they are in St. Louis. I never guess I really thought about it. I mean, the Rams have been gone for a number of years. And of course, I guess when you win the Super Bowl, you do attract fans, but that statistic was really high. Have you heard that one?
Yeah, there's a lot of Chiefs fans. I see their gear all over the place when I'm out and about in St. Louis. And, if Taylor Swift can be a fan of the Chiefs, everyone else in Missouri can, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and when you think about economic development, I know you don't maybe necessarily think about the recreational side or the entertainment side of what a state can offer, but certainly that does play into it if you're talking about quality of life and way of life and interests and passions and things, right?
Yeah, it does. I was just at a conference a few weeks ago, and it was a marketing conference specifically for marketers and economic development. And one of the themes of that conference was that quality of life, it ranks so much higher now than it used to when people are deciding where to set up their next location, which I thought was really interesting because before quality of life was kind of just an extra, but now it's something that is really important to people.
Interesting. I wonder, is that, you think, a post-COVID result? You think that's what drove that?
I do. And I think with the workforce being so tight, they want to be in a location that will also attract a good workforce. And so I think that plays into it as well.
Yeah. So I have to ask you this because you mentioned Taylor Swift. And of course, every podcast in the country is talking about Taylor Swift right now and the Chiefs and hopefully Missouri and all that. But my wife and I go round and round about this. But, even if they're not dating, it is like the greatest publicity effort ever, right?
I agree.
It's crazy. And I'm going to play in and play along. And, they look real lovey-dovey together. And I think they make a super couple. And I have a lot of respect for both of them for what they do professionally. But it has attracted so much attention to the NFL and the Chiefs. And of course, Taylor didn't really necessarily need the attention, but everybody's talking about it. And that's what good PR is all about.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they're leveraging it, and, a lot of different businesses are benefiting from it. That now there's all this apparel from local shops that are selling things. So I love to see that. And it's a great example of the power of social media too. And all of us marketers already know about that, but using influencers in your marketing can also be extremely helpful. And so trust me, Taylor is at the top of my list for someone that I would love to engage with at some point to talk about what she thinks about Missouri, because I think she's been spending more time here lately.
She might be a great spokesman one of these days.
You never know what could happen, right? You have to dream big, right?
You just used one of my favorite lines ever. You never know. It's one of my favorites. So let's talk about the Missouri Partnership a minute. When did you first hear about the partnership?
So I first heard about Missouri Partnership when one of my friends from college, who was a sorority sister of mine, her name is Kara Weber, she approached me about a position at Missouri Partnership that was going to be coming open. So she was actually about to have her first child, and so was I. And she worked at Missouri Partnership as a business recruitment coordinator. So essentially, she was providing support to all of the business recruitment team as they worked projects to bring these new businesses into the state. And she wanted to find someone to split her job with, essentially. So it was a pretty progressive idea. And I have to give a lot of props to our CEO at the time, Chris Chung, who supported the idea. And he hired me, and Kara and I essentially split her job half and half, 20 hours a week for each of us, providing support on all of these different projects for our organization. So it was really the best of both worlds because we both were having our first babies and we still had really meaningful, impactful jobs while we were able to spend more time with our babies. So Kara really is the one who introduced me to Missouri Partnership, and she ended up leaving Missouri Partnership a few years later, but then she actually rejoined our team a few years ago. So it's been a lot of fun to have her back on the team. We're working together again, but just both of us in different capacities now. So a few years after we job shared, we both decided we were ready to work a little bit more and maybe transition our roles. So I moved into doing more business development, and I focused a lot on lead generation for a few years. And then I made my way over into marketing, which was always my goal from the very beginning, was to make it over to marketing, because that's kind of the natural progression for people that work in media. They usually tend to move over to more of marketing and comms and PR roles if they get out of the news industry like I did.
So for those people who are not familiar with Missouri Partnership, tell us all about it.
I would love to. So, Missouri Partnership has been around for about 15 years. We just had our 15-year anniversary celebration. We're a pretty small team. We only have about 13 team members, but everybody is a total all-star. I'm so lucky to work with the people that I do. We have a great team. We do a lot. So we focus on attracting new businesses to the state. So our target audience is businesses that are not already in Missouri. We focus mostly on expansion. So who we're trying to connect with and bring awareness about Missouri to are businesses that are in growth mode. So we're not necessarily working relocations, we're not necessarily trying to take businesses from other states, more so trying to help businesses as they're looking for expansion locations to show them why Missouri might make sense for an additional location. So our target audience is business executives at these high growth companies. And then there's another audience that is a pretty niche audience. It's site location consultants. And these are people who companies can hire to help them identify the best location for their new location. So those are really our two audiences that we're focused on bringing awareness to Missouri to. So if you're in the state listening to this, maybe you don't know much about Missouri Partnership because we're not necessarily trying to reach an in-state audience, because businesses that are already here, the Missouri Department of Economic Development, who are wonderful partners of ours, they work with the businesses that are already here on retention and expansion. So the way that we approach business attraction is really by breaking it down by industries. So we take a look at where Missouri is doing well and where we can really help businesses find the most success. And those industries are corporate services, R&D, distribution, and manufacturing. Manufacturing is a big one for us. So we help these companies as they're evaluating states for expansion. And essentially we show them why Missouri is a good fit for their next location.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And I didn't realize that it was just focusing on attracting new business to Missouri. That's great. So your effort lies, I assume, in staying in front of the site consultants and making sure that they're familiar with the assets that Missouri has to offer and the strengths. And then is it more outbound marketing to business executives in those industries that you have determined are the most viable?
That's exactly it. I don't know the exact percentage. It's close to 50-50, maybe 60-40 as far as who we get our projects from, being site selectors versus directly from companies. So it's pretty even. But I will say with site location consultants, it's really important to nurture those relationships with them and make sure that we do keep Missouri top of mind for them. Because when a client comes to them and is looking for a new location, we want them to think of Missouri. We want them to have our team's cell phone number and to send us a text or give us a quick call to talk over the project and see if we would have anything that would fit for them. A lot of times what they're looking for is sites. So companies might be looking for a building, but sometimes, most of the time, actually, they're looking for sites. So we might hear from site selectors that want to know, do you have a 200-acre site with X, Y, and Z? And then we can send that out to all of our partners statewide, or if they're only interested in a certain part of the state, we'll just send it to our partners in that specific geographic location, and we will help them with the project and help them find the location that makes sense for them.
And your partners would be state economic development, local, regional economic development organizations?
Exactly. Yeah. So, we're called Missouri Partnership. Partnership is in our name. So we don't do anything alone, and we could not do what we do without the partnerships that we have throughout the state. So it's a bit cheesy, but in economic development, we always say economic development is a team sport. And it really is true, though. I know that it's cheesy, but it's so true. So we have the Missouri Department of Economic Development, and they are, another state partner, and we're working really closely with them. And I would say we talk to them daily about different projects that we're working. And so then we also have really strong regional and local partners, and they play a crucial role in all of these projects that we're working. So like I said, if a company or a site selection consultant comes to us with a project, then we'll send out what we call a real estate search to all of our partners throughout the state. And then if those sites or those buildings are identified as being top contenders for that company and for the client, then we might have the client come into the state and go and do a tour of the site and do tours of the buildings. And we rely pretty heavily on the people that live in those cities, our partners in the regions or the cities, to help us put together what we call a site visit, because they know their community better than anybody and they pull in all the right players. So it's important for us to have a good showing at those site visits. And so we do rely a lot on our partners to help us pull in all of the right people and pull it together and put on an impressive show for the client at that time.
Seems to me that with technology that maybe that process has changed a little bit. We live in a virtual world, right? So is there more vetting that's being done prior to those physical site visits today?
So there's a lot of vetting that's being done, and a lot of it we don't even know about. So some vetting is being done on all of the states. We call it a desktop screening, and they're doing that before they ever even contact us. So we don't know how many projects went through the desktop screening phase that maybe never even made it to a phone call or an email to us from a client interested in opening up a new facility here. That's why it's important for us to have a really up-to-date website and have current data and have our current rankings and have relevant content on there to really show and make a case for Missouri for their new location. So there is a desktop screening that happens, before they even contact us. If we make it through that and they contact us, then, obviously we're pushing out that real estate search statewide. Hopefully we can never direct a client on where to go, as much as maybe some people might think we have control over that. We don't. Sometimes they just want to be, near a certain highway or near certain assets or near a supplier. And so we just go wherever the client directs us to go. But our goal is to always be able to push it out statewide. And then, like I said, if we make it through a few different cuts, then it could land into a site visit. And one thing that happened since the COVID-19 pandemic is virtual site visits. So that is a whole different way of approaching a site visit. And those can be a little challenging because I always think it's nice to have people here. They can actually experience Missouri firsthand. I think that virtual site visits are great as far as scheduling and making it easy to get everyone together, because it's easier to click a button on Zoom than it is to fly everybody in somewhere into numerous different states. But, we have to get creative and make sure that we have a good showing on those virtual site visits too.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the website. Let's talk a little bit specifically about marketing and how you position Missouri Partnership and the state of Missouri. Talk a little bit about some of the communication strategies that you're using.
So our website is pretty robust because our website is used by clients and it's also used by our partners. So we're constantly updating our website content. We have a blog on there that we update almost daily, and that has relevant content from across the state, from our target industries, and it really highlights great things happening within those industries in the state. We're also highlighting all of our project announcements. So we typically have around, I'd say, 15 or so announcements. So those are projects that have decided to locate in Missouri. And so I like to go big on project announcements because I think that that is something worth talking about, because these projects sometimes can take years to come to fruition. So I always like to go really big on our project announcements, and sometimes we even have events to go along with them. We'll do a press conference to make the announcement. We might do a ribbon cutting or a groundbreaking. We work closely with the Missouri Department of Economic Development on those announcements, and hopefully we can get the governor to attend, and that just increases the visibility of that company making that decision to come here. I'm a really big fan of peer-to-peer marketing. So I like case studies. I like to show why companies chose to be here and why companies are succeeding here, because I think that, I can go on and on about Missouri all day long, but that's my job. So I think people expect to hear that from me, or they expect to hear that from Missouri Partnership. But if you have a CEO of a company saying great things about Missouri and really explaining why they chose to be here and why they're succeeding here, then I think that goes much further than anything that I could say.
I agree with that. I think testimonials are very powerful. And I do follow Missouri Partnership on social media, and you guys do a great job of telling that story of success for the state of Missouri. And it seems like there have been a lot of announcements over the last few months.
Yeah, our pipeline is full, and we have more that will be coming soon, hopefully. And so we are really busy in marketing. There's really two of us that are dedicated to marketing. So it's myself and my colleague, Mackenzie Strew, and she has been phenomenal. She just joined our team last spring, and she's just hit the ground running. She's the one behind the scenes writing a lot of those blogs, and she's on social media running our accounts for us. So we're really active on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and X. And we have found that our target audience tends to be on LinkedIn. So we do put more resources into LinkedIn than any of the other platforms, but we do well on all of them with organic and paid. So we're leveraging social media channels as much as we can to reach our core audience.
That makes sense. Well, as a marketer, I have to ask why. Why is the pipeline full?
So I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think a lot of it goes back to that relationship building that I was talking about earlier with consultants. I think that a lot of consultants know that if they call the team at Missouri Partnership, that we either have the answers for them or we can get the answers for them very quickly, because we do have a lot of collaboration in the state. And that is something that I think is really unique to Missouri. We have partners, like I said, throughout the entire state, and we know that we can pick up the phone and get the answers that we need, or they can help us find the right resource for these consultants right away. And everyone kind of stops what they're doing, and we focus on projects. Project work always comes first. And so I think it's that level of customer service that we offer that really helps set us apart from the other states. There's no project that is too small or too big for us to work on. We give the same attention to every single client that contacts us. And I think that, that serves us very well and helps us keep a pipeline that's very full. We also just have a lot of industries that are doing well right now. Food and beverage is probably one of our top industries. And, you said you've been following our account. So we just had a great win in rural Missouri in Warren County. It was American Foods Group. And that's a meat processing facility that is currently under construction. And so that will have a ripple effect throughout the state. And I think that when we keep on winning projects, success breeds success. And so people see that and people want to be a part of it. And there's a lot of good reasons to be a part of it. Missouri makes sense for companies due to multiple factors. And I think that businesses are seeing that. And so we're just getting a lot more projects.
Exciting times. So I love your new campaign theme.
Thank you.
And I'll let you tell us what it is, but tell us about that campaign and what you're hoping to achieve with it, how it came about.
I'd be happy to. So I'm very excited about this new campaign. We actually just launched it officially. So the new campaign is called Missouri Loves Company. So clearly it's a play on words here of Missouri Loves Company. And it is really just all about showing the love from Missouri to the companies that are here and to companies that could potentially be here. So a lot of what we're doing in marketing is typically more of a corporate style of branding. And if you follow economic development at all, you'll see a lot of the states, regions, cities, counties, we all have a similar style and a similar approach to marketing. It's pretty buttoned up and, like I said, more of a corporate feel to it. And I think that that's great. And we all put our own flavor on it, and that's wonderful. But we did just have a conversation where we're like, what can we do to really stand out? How can we set Missouri apart from all of the other states? We're competing against 49 other states every single day, and we need to make sure that Missouri stands out. So we engaged a marketing firm here in St. Louis named Elasticity, and they helped us come up with this really fun, edgy, lighthearted campaign. Yet at the end of the day, it's still very informative. So that was always important to us, was to make sure that the viewers who see this have something to take away from it that's helpful and beneficial to them. It's nice to be fun and all, but also we need to make sure that they get the information that they need. So we decided to develop a microsite. And so on this site, there's a lot of high-level information. It highlights our workforce, our collaboration in Missouri. It has helpful links that goes to our real estate that's available and other things that might be helpful to a company that's evaluating a new location. So the way that we chose what to highlight on here is we just wanted to hit home on the points that we hear from clients the most, which I'm sure everyone listening knows workforce is an extremely hot topic right now, and I don't think that's going anywhere. So we made sure to explain why Missouri is a great place if you're looking for a skilled workforce, and what programs do we have in place to support your workforce needs. Collaboration, that's something that's really unique to Missouri, like I said before. And so I felt really strongly that was a point that we should hone in on with this campaign, because it's something that not every state can tout. And I'm always happy to talk about the collaboration in our state and how great all of our partners are. And then probably my favorite part of the microsite, and really of the campaign in general, are testimonials. But instead of calling them testimonials or case studies, we call them love stories. And so they highlight companies that we have helped bring to the state, or maybe some companies that we've had here for decades, and just talks about their success in the state. And then at the end of these love stories are love bites. And that is about 3 bullet points that is kind of, top line items of why they've been successful here. So kind of just a fun take on testimonials. And then we also have a lot of hyperlinks on the microsite that drive traffic to Missouri Partnerships website. And that was really important to me, because this microsite is great and it's fun and it's catchy, but I want to make sure that people have access to Missouri Partnerships website, where they can take a much, much deeper dive into any of the topics that are relevant to them.
Very clever. Very clever. And how are you rolling this out? How are you bringing people to you?
Yeah, we just launched it, like I said. And so we pushed out a press release. We have that up on our website, on our blog, and we had a targeted media list that we reached out to with that. We've already I did one interview last week with the Springfield News Leader, and they ran that article. So trying to get earned media both in state and out of state, which is a little different from what we typically do, because most of what I'm doing on a daily basis is trying to reach an audience outside of Missouri. But with this campaign, we felt like it was important to also reach an in-state audience to get people excited about what we're talking about here. There's a lot of great things happening in Missouri, and this is a fun campaign, and we want people to get excited about it, and we want people to adapt it and to use it in their own efforts. We also have an aggressive paid strategy, so we're mostly focused on LinkedIn with that because that really is where our core audience lives. And we have display ads, and we're just doing a lot on all fronts to really raise awareness, both in state and out of state. And then, of course, we have a targeted paid strategy that really is trying to reach executives in those key industries.
Perfect. Perfect. So I know if somebody searches for Missouri Partnership, you're going to pop up first. The microsite address, what is it? Would you share it with our audience?
I would be happy to. Yes, it's MissouriLovesCompany.org.
Oh, perfect. That was nice that was available, wasn't it?
Well, and as the marketer, we went back and forth on what do we want the website address to be, and do we want it to end in .com, .org? There's so many decisions to make, and so we landed on MissouriLovesCompany.org, and we were very happy that it was available, and we're getting it trademarked, and so full steam ahead with this.
Well, good. I'm sure it's going to be successful. How are you going to measure success?
So measuring success for us, one thing that is a little hard to measure as a marketer, as I'm sure you know, is just that awareness. So that is something that's hard to measure, but I think that this will increase awareness about Missouri. And that was something when we did research that we found was lacking. We did a lot of research before we launched this campaign and before we even designed the campaign. And all of that research came back to us showing that business executives just didn't have a lot of awareness about Missouri in general. So we didn't necessarily have an uphill climb. We weren't combating negative perceptions of the state, but we needed just to raise awareness. So we're hoping to do that with this campaign. We're also tracking impressions and clicks on our online advertising. And of course, we're keeping tabs on the microsite traffic. And we're also keeping tabs on how much traffic is driven from that microsite over to Missouri Partnership's website. We're recording media coverage, so earned media is a key component of it too. And really, at the end of the day, the end goal is conversions. So that's where someone reaches out to us and they turn into an active project, either for Missouri Partnership or maybe it's for the Department of Economic Development. And so that is really the end goal, is to convert people who see this campaign into active projects and hopefully into a project win.
Well, I think you've done a great job of putting together a strategic campaign that makes sense on all fronts. It's very clever, very creative. I'm excited to see the assets, the creative assets that you guys are rolling out there. So I'm going to keep my eye on them and like and share what I see.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. There's a lot of fun, different content. It kind of has an underlying dating app theme to it. So we have some ads that talk about how Missouri is your perfect match. And we talk about Missouri's likes, which are, low taxes, a great workforce, available real estate, and our dislikes are red tape and high cost. So it's a really fun way to present the same information that we've been presenting. We're just doing it in a completely different way.
So with your video background, have you incorporated some video into the campaign as well?
So we're actually working on that right now. And yes, video will be a part of the strategy. They'll just be short clips, though, about 15 seconds. So we're not necessarily creating these long themed videos that have a big storyline to them. They're just more quick, punchy videos that will play as ads.
As a vehicle to draw people back to you, right?
Yeah, everything that we do in all of our marketing, whether it's sponsored content, creating a microsite like this, everything that we do, we are always trying to drive traffic back to Missouri Partnership's website, because on our website, there's tons of buttons and ways for people to get in touch with us. And really, at the end of the day, we want people to connect with us because we want to have the chance to talk with them about their project and to learn more about their business and to find out how we can work with them to help them expand into the state.
Well, you guys are doing a great job. Again, I'm excited to watch the rollout of this campaign, and I know we're going to see some positive results going forward.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. So we've talked a little bit about rural America as a part of the greater Missouri geography, I guess. The focus of our podcast is marketing rural America. And, rural America, we think is more of a mindset than a geography. And, it's kind of a way of life. It's a lifestyle. When I say the words rural America, what kind of thoughts and images come to mind for you?
Well, for me, the first thing that I think of is beauty, just natural beauty with the landscape of it. Rural America is beautiful, and there's just no denying that. As far as marketing is concerned, I was lucky enough in my role at Missouri Partnership, I was able to work with the team in Northeast Missouri, which we now refer to as Missouri Northeast. They were working on creating a brand for their region. And so I got to go there and I spent several days there filming and meeting with businesses and community leaders. And really, I was stunned by their collaboration. It really felt like everyone there was family, which I also found that to be beautiful too. They all knew each other. Everyone wanted each other to succeed, whether or not they were in the same city or county. They all lifted each other up, spoke well about each other, helped each other, were very complimentary of each other. And at the end of the day, they were all rooting for everyone in their region. So I thought that that was just really neat to see. And quite frankly, I see that across the entire state of Missouri too, which makes me proud to be doing what we're doing. The other thing that comes to mind too that is a little bit different outside of the box is really rural America is so tech savvy. I think that rural America is much more tech savvy than some people realize. Some of the most high-tech equipment and technology is being used on farms. And I don't think that the general public is necessarily aware of that or expects that from rural America. And, here in Missouri, our agriculture industry is a $94 billion industry, and there's so much happening within that industry in Missouri. And Missouri just really shines in the ag world. And we're seeing a lot of interest in rural parts of the state. As I mentioned, the American Foods Group project that just landed in Warren County, that's a rural part of the state and an $800 million investment. So rural America has a lot to offer, and especially rural Missouri. And, we're proud to be able to do what we can to help bring new businesses to those parts of the state.
Well, we appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you. It's really our pleasure.
Well, I'm glad you talked about collaboration because I see that as well. You mentioned earlier how competitive economic development is, and most people don't realize that. And you do have to stand out. But when it comes right down to it, that public-private partnership of working together to make things happen and get things done is really what I think drives success. And Missouri Partnership's doing a great job for the state of Missouri and the citizens of Missouri. And we appreciate everything you do. And I appreciate you being on the podcast today to talk about everything you have. I mean, this has been a great, great episode. And I know that I've kept you longer than I mentioned that I would, but it's hard to stop when you're having fun.
This has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it, and I hope your listeners found it valuable, and hopefully all of them will help us spread the word about all the great things happening here in Missouri, and Missouri loves company.
Yeah, Missouri does love company. Janelle, thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Folks, thanks for listening to Outdrive. I hope you've enjoyed our visit today with Janelle Higgins, Vice President of Marketing and Communications for Missouri Partnership. Come back again next week, and I'll take you down the roads of rural America where it's heaven on earth.
Thanks for taking a ride with us on Outdrive. This episode is complete, so head on over to ecalis.com for more insight you can apply to help drive your business growth. And be sure to sign up for our free monthly e-letter, Outthink, for even more helpful content about marketing to rural America. Have a great day and keep on driving.